everything is spirituality. There's nothing, like everything is God, like everything is love, like everything is consciousness. I equate spirituality as everything. So there's nothing that you can do that's not spiritual. Again, the question is whether you are conscious of it or not.
Hello, dears, and welcome to our episode with our guest today is Harrison Ma, uh, coming straight from Australia. And I'm so glad to have him here today. As I know him already for quite some time, and from very beginning, I felt that he is really my soul brother, going through the same process as me. And finally, we have a chance to dive into the conversation about spirituality and authenticity and what it means for Harrison and about his journey. So, welcome, Harrison. Glad to see you here. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Lily. I'm really good. I'm really excited. As you just described and suggested, we have been connected for a while, and you're one of my favorite lovely souls in the world that I enjoy going deep with. So this is just going to be another example of all of the beautiful deepness.
Thank you so much, Harrison. And also for those who see Harrison for the first time, he is a spiritual love coach and mentor, helping, assisting people to come back home to their heart, to
Mm.
love, to that source that is the end and beginning of all. So, yeah.
Ooh, what a beautiful description, Lily. I think I might have to get you to follow me around and describe that into all the places I go. You did it in a beautiful little tagline there.
Aw, when I'm in the flow, it just goes out naturally from me.
I know the feeling.
So, yeah, so let's start with the first question. I am so curious to know how would you define what is spirituality for you personally?
Hmm. So I have two definitions that come through in this moment. The first is a deeper connection, deeper connection to the unified whole or the unified oneness, which you just spoke about in my intro and tagline, right? That's spirituality to me. Is what it means to really connect to that unification, right, in all the different ways for each individual. The second definition, which I think is less talked about and what I really step into mostly, is what it means for each individual to step into the consciousness of love. So spirituality isn't just a connection to what makes us all unified. It's also a connection to the consciousness of love itself.
Mm, beautiful. And
Mm.
also, what I hear, correct me if I'm missing something. It, also, how I would put in how I received your message that
Mm-hmm.
spirituality for you is something intangible,
Mm. Mm.
what is on the realm of feeling, or
Mm. Yes, yes and no. So I think at the deepest of levels, yes, it's the intangible and on the realm of feeling, sensitivity, emotionality, all of those beautiful things. Spirituality is that and everything else, right? So it's the intangible and the tangible, or it's the unmanifested and the manifested is another way to say it.
Mm.
So, I had a beautiful conversation, I think yesterday, or the day before, with someone about this same topic, and we were discussing the idea of, if you are a spiritual person, does it mean you detach from the physical realm? Does it mean you detach from all of the 3D things of work, objects, cars, money, all this stuff? And I said, no, right? To be a spiritual person means to walk into the 3D with an open heart. Remember that you don't become identified by the tangible objects, but you project your spirit and your love through them.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. That's so good to clarify it. Literally, for me, how I hear it, it's unification of two polarities, like
Yeah.
feminine and masculine in the
Yes.
union,
Yes. That would be a beautiful way to describe it. Yeah.
like physical manifestation of intangible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go forward. Um, have you always been spiritual? What is the journey in short? Your
Mm.
journey to spirituality?
Well, the short answer is I think we are always spiritual. All of us are always spiritual. What is shifting throughout our lives and what shifted for me is my consciousness around it, my awareness around my divine spiritual connection. And for me, my journey, my story came with a lot of unconsciousness, right? Unconsciousness and disconnection from my spiritual center, my spiritual divinity, my spiritual power. So a lot of that came from childhood challenges, childhood trauma, inner child disconnection, and then adolescent pain and more trauma and more suppressing and numbing, and then sort of early 20s, mid 20s, a lot of pain teachers that came into my life that then gave me the opportunity to alchemize and transform that pain, which led me to a lot of the work I do now here in the present.
I see, and looks like the same story that I can relate also, and I believe
Mm,
that every person on this earth experience that what disconnection is, and
mm,
maybe not everybody gets a chance to experience the connection after all,
mm.
but that's probably our mission and purpose in this lifetime to
Ooh,
assist people with that.
I want to underline that, Lily, that you what you just said there, because you said it so casually and just subtly, like it's our mission and our purpose to reconnect back to source and spirituality. But I just want to make sure everyone heard that, right? That, in my opinion, is the purpose we all have. The purpose we all have as individuals is to awaken and remember what we actually are, right? Awaken and remember what it means to be a spiritual being having a human experience. And for many of us, as you were just beautifully describing, that requires getting support, right? Getting help, getting a divine mirror for you to look into clearly to see yourself.
So, talking about the support, I'm also curious. Have you have you ever had a support from outside people? And I
Mm.
would exclude those pain teachers as we
Yes.
are learning through ourselves, but I mean some
Yeah.
mentor or some coach. Have you been working
Mm.
with somebody?
Yeah. So I aim with my best intentions to practice what I preach. Right. And a big part of what I preach is what you're saying, Lily, is there is a time and a place that we all need someone to hold our hand and create space for us to look within. So at every point in my journey, I've aimed to have someone there to reflect back to me that which I need to see at the point I'm at. So I, as an example, right, I started as a personal trainer, worked on the physical body a lot, and had my own personal trainer, right? Had my own coach, had my own physical therapist supporting me, giving me guidance. And then as I went into the mental, psychological realm, I had my own counselor, I had my own therapist that would mirror me back my mental challenges. And then as I've journeyed deeper into the spiritual realm, I've participated in mystery schools where I've had a few different teachers. I've had my own coaches in regards to business and all these little things. So the short answer is yes, Lily, and mainly because it's needed.
Yes, and that's why I asked just to highlight the importance actually of support of the external
Mm,
beings. in this process, because I went and I'm still going through the same, and I can witness in my experience also that uh, to have somebody who's supporting you emotionally is such huge value in the
Yeah.
world of the minds who are more keen to judge rather than support.
Yes. Yeah. And, I'll throw this out there too for people tuning in. It's important to understand that, yes, we are a divine spiritual being that has all the answers, has all of the power, has all of the medicine inside of oneself. Simultaneously, we're also a human being. We're a human animal. And that human animal, I'd ask everyone to visualize this and connect and reflect. That human animal has evolved for thousands of years in what kind of environment? It has evolved in an environment of tribe, in community, in close connection with other human animals to do exactly what you're saying, right? To reflect, to support, to listen, to hold, to share the things that need to be shared.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear you. The same, that duality of feminine and masculine, we need both.
Mm,
What is authenticity for you then? How would you define
mm,
it?
mm. Well, I would define it as, so let me backstep a little bit to define this. I mentioned a second ago how I view we all have a purpose. We'll have a purpose of reconnecting back to what we actually are. I would say there's two parts to our purpose. The first part is that reconnection back to our divine self, and then the second part is what we then are inspired to do with that divine remembrance. What I uniquely am inspired to do, what Lily is uniquely inspired to do, what is Harrison's unique medicine that is created and received from that divine remembrance. To answer your question, what is authenticity? Authenticity is the level in which we're able to meet those two purposes. At the level in which I am authentic based on how connected I am to my divine source, and then ultimately how I'm able to then spread my medicine, right? Or connect to my medicine, because it doesn't even need to be, and maybe we'll speak more about this, but your medicine doesn't even need to be actively expressed, right? It can be actively expressed, but your medicine starts to emit from you based on how authentic you are.
Yeah, I hear you. And I really like that you pointed out that um, people don't need to be doing something like we going on a podcast and showing up very
Mm,
publicly. It can
mm,
be the purpose just to be a good mom,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
and be
Well,
authentic in
Lily,
that. Tell me.
can I share a little story here, a little example here? I would
Sure.
say it's even more simple than what you're deciding. Like the purpose of being a good mom, right? Yes, that your medicine and that divinity can flow through that intention. But your this medicine, this authenticity, as you describe it, emits from you, even if you're just sitting there doing nothing, like nothing, right? Just being connected to the breath. I spent 3 months in India and I was traveling around, and it was a beautiful, beautiful experience in many different ways. And right at the end of the trip, I had a really interesting experience that connects to what you're describing here around authenticity and connection. And I was at this event, this music event with some close friends. And I was sitting there. I was looking, observing, feeling, being very mindful. And this is the key word here, present. And I had a friend, she was sitting right next to me. And I was being silent. I was connected. I wasn't even thinking. And she turns to me and says, Harrison, why is it that whenever I am close to you and sitting next to you, I feel this surge of energy. I feel this urge moving through me and I start getting all these downloads, and I feel like I want to ask you questions and share these things with my voice. And the answer I gave to her, which is the answer I give to you here now, Lily, is your divine authentic state. It's already on, but your ability to open to it, to be present with it, to be willing to receive it, is the extent in which it starts to emit from you, whether you are doing or being.
Okay, that was a huge gem
Mm.
for me to realize this. Thank you. It makes total sense. I noticed also the same going both ways in my life. And when I am next to somebody and then I start channeling the information like crazy that person is all about, and I'm just
Mm.
putting it out. And the same, I noticed that other people, when they are next to me, they suddenly get all of those beautiful epiphany moments. And
Mm. Mm.
probably that's how we are
Mm.
impacting one another.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. And it's not a Lily thing. It's not a Harrison thing. This is something we all have the ability to awaken in oneself.
Yeah, beautiful. The path to authenticity, the path to being authentic is spirituality. Is it correct?
Yes, yes. And to be clear, just for people tuning in, everything is spirituality. There's nothing like everything is God, like everything is love, like everything is consciousness. I equate spirituality as everything. So there's nothing that you can do that's not spiritual. Again, the question is whether you are conscious of it or not.
Da-da-da-dum, da-dum. I wish I have those musics, when you give a gem, I put it on. Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. I just get chills all over my body as a confirmation that yes, yes, yes. I hope
Mhm.
people the same. And also, if you're watching, listening to this, if you feel resonance, I really invite you to comment, to reflect, to give a feedback, to whatever arises with the fire of inspiration. Just share, because that's also your authenticity of what you're feeling. So don't hold expression back. Just be the full embodiment of that.
Hmm.
Now, what is bubbling up for Harrison, huh?
Oh, many things here, Lily, but I'm really grateful and honored that, I can feel your beautiful essence, your beautiful authenticity coming through, even though we're literally on the other side of the world to each other. But this authentic state that you are describing and the spiritual state that we're talking about, another attribute of it is that it knows no time and space. So you can share it and connect to it in any way beyond those parameters.
Is there something that Harrison Ma would like to improve in his spirituality?
Hmm. Well, as much as my ego likes to have resistance towards this, I will first start off by saying that there will always be something that I can improve on. And I think that in itself is a practice, right? This idea of really being spiritually humble wherever we can, like being the eternal. It's not just being the eternal student, it's also being open to receive. Because the more that the mental mind thinks it knows something, the less we're actually connected to what knowing actually is, right? And knowing with a capital K is, connected to that source, right? That wisdom that's beyond anything intellectual. So I think something I would like to improve, Lily, to answer your question more directly, is really giving my mind permission in challenging situations, such as like speaking in front of people or hosting ceremonies or just being out there in the world. I would like to improve my ability to connect to my mind to let it know that all is okay, that it can relax despite all of its fears and its stories and the unprocessed elements that I've yet to meet. Despite all of that, here in this moment, as an example, speaking to Lily, it's okay to relax. It's okay to let go. It's okay to just be present and allow source consciousness to flow through.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did I understand you correctly? Now I'm not sure that
I'll say it this way, Lily.
your mind is hyperactive before you go to bigger places, like
Yeah,
before your show up
yeah,
or
I would say
during the show up.
so yeah, good distinction. Before I would, because during the show up, source, just my divine source is the only thing that's present, such as right now on this chat, right? There's no mind at all. It's just flowing. But pre-experience, pre-activity, pre-show up, as you beautifully described it, my mind is very active with all the things, right? All the stories, all the emotions, all of the unprocessed shadows. So something I would like to improve is really the ability to just remind the mind pre-show up that it's okay. I'm allowed to be moving through all this, and simultaneously, it's okay.
Beautiful. Okay, because I couldn't believe that your mind is hyperactive when you are present on during the show up because it
Yeah,
doesn't feel like that.
yeah, yeah.
And
I've always, it's been a superpower that I have, Lily. Like I'm really good at showing up and then just allowing myself to be held by the presence that moves through me.
that's why you're my soul brother, because I remembered I have the same superpower actually. And I remember when I was in the fourth grade, uh, I was about to have a spectacle, a theater for parents at school, and I was playing the main character, sleeping. No, was it sleeping? Cinderella. Yeah, I was Cinderella, and I was so shaking before going on stage, and the moment I step, I felt that all the world disappeared and I was living that story. And I woke up to the reality only when everybody started applauding. So I know
Yeah,
what you mean.
yeah. I've found, and it feels like you've found, it's so much easier to be present when all that's needed in the moment is for you to just give your medicine, right? And whatever that medicine is, right? It's going to be different for everyone, but it's the presence moves through us because it's connected, right? As I described with those two purposes, right? The first purpose is reconnecting and remembering our presence, and the second is allowing that presence to move through our unique medicine. So, of course, it's easier to do it in the show up because in that moment, both are happening, right? You've reconnected, hopefully, ideally, and you're sharing your unique expression of it.
Yeah, and it's such a good state of being. You don't need, at least I don't need any hallucinogens, any
No,
artificial medicine. It's so
no.
natural.
Well, it is it
Okay.
is the hallucinogenic state, right? That's like this is funny in itself and a tangent here, but I want to share it, Lily. Like this is what we're all experiencing when we do take something like a plant medicine, or we do take something that brings us to this high state. We're not getting high. We're actually connecting to the deepest part of ourselves. And we think in that moment that that thing is giving it to us. We think that, oh, this ayahuasca, this mushroom, this joint that I'm taking. Oh, I feel my consciousness. It's expanding. I feel connected. But the funny thing is that that connection is always there. But for whatever reason, that tool has allowed the mind to relax long enough for you to remember.
Yeah, beautifully said. Um, yeah, and I wish that more people discover this natural path to consciousness, to authenticity. As you mentioned that you would like to improve within yourself, like calming the mind before I show up. Let's name it like that. Now imagine, Harrison, I love that word, imagine, if you could accomplish this, how would that positively impact your life? What comes when you imagine that
Yeah,
suddenly your mind doesn't bother you? What is
yeah.
happening then?
Well, it's what comes into my awareness with that question, Lily, is it would create a lot of connection to the connection of the inner to the outer. And what I mean by that, a faster connection between the inner and the outer. And what I mean by that is we're all manifesting all the time. And simultaneously, our potential, our creation energy that we use to manifest is unlimited, right? It's limitless. It has no bounds. So practically, what I'm saying here is, for me, all the things that I wish to manifest in my life in regards to a career, a relationship, health, housing, etc., I'm really good at connecting to it internally, which is the place where it all begins, right? If I feel it internally, it is real. The differentiating factor is how long it will take to show up in the 3D reality, and what is that difference? What is that gap? So the answer to your question, Lily, is what would change for me once that mind is able to relax before the show up is that gap between the inner and the outer would be drastically decreased. So a lot more manifestation into the 3D in all of the ways.
Hmm. And it feels good, right?
Yes. Yeah. It feels good because it's what we are, right? It feels good because it's normal. Like our base
Yeah.
state is that.
Yeah, and I love also saying that if I can feel, it exists. So as
Yes.
more I feel, as more I exist.
Yes. Yes. It's beautiful. Yeah. And
Okay,
I'll
that
just say this, Lily, I say this just to be clear for everyone. The more we're taken away by the mind stories and the fears and the things that come up, usually the less we're able to feel. And the less feeling, the less, as you just beautifully said, the manifesting of what we actually deserve.
I want you to cap it. I'm not sure if I understood you well. So as more we fear, as less we feel.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
fear is the emotion, while
Yeah.
other like love is the feeling, right?
Well,
Or
fear can come with emotion, right? Fear can come with feelings. But most of us, at least this has been in my experience, Lily, when we're taken away by fear, it's less of an emotional feeling state and more of a cognitive mental state, right? More of like,
but
oh, what if this is going to happen? This is the story that I live in. This is the reality that I think is going to happen. So I'm not going to make the choice. I'm not going to do the thing. I'm not going to allow myself to feel the emotions because this story is real and that's it. This story of how small I am, how not enough I am, how unworthy I am, that's real. So everything else doesn't need to happen.
got it. So in my vocabulary, I would translate it that then we operate the source of our feeling then is not our heart but our mind. So it's like I would say what wants to be said like artificial source, um, the mind that creates our emotional reality rather than
Mm,
the true source, the heart
mm,
that is that creator.
yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful way to describe
Do you see yourself fully authentic?
it. More and more these days, I, like everyone, am not perfect, and I aim to never be. So I think that perfect, quote unquote, perfect state isn't reality. I think we are divine, messy beings. So the messiness asserts imperfection, and imperfection is beautiful. However, I am noticing myself through the people that I interact with specifically showing more and more up as that authentic state defined as we've described it as connected into my source and what I actually am, and then able to express my unique medicine from that source. So these days, I am showing up in more spaces and places with more people in that authentic state. And it's very exciting.
Never ending school of life,
Yeah.
school of authenticity. And I can say, Harrison, that so far, witnessing your journey along mine, I notice and I very obviously can see your development
Mm,
into your authenticity. The way you speak is more assertive, more confident. The way
mm,
your body expresses the language also
mm,
is so confident. While at the beginning of meeting you was not that much as now.
mm,
So
mm.
uh, I just want to give you that reflection. I don't know if somebody shared that with you.
So not in the way that you just did, Lily. So I receive it, and thank you for sharing it. And I just want to speak to that body aspect, that body addition. And it's been really interesting in my journey. I, I sort of described it earlier, but I'll add more to it now. I started deeply in the physical, but only in the physical. I started as a personal trainer, working in gyms, focusing only on the muscles and the body. And then I felt my heart pulling deeper and deeper. So I went more into therapy, emotional healing, and then ultimately into a mental and then the deeper spiritual realms. But now what I'm noticing, it's coming the deeper I've gone into the spiritual realms, it's coming back full circle, back into the addition or the acceptance, probably is a better word, of the unification of the physical and the deeper spiritual dimensions. So, what you've noticed in terms of like the confidence in the addition of the physical is a symptom of that, is a remembering that to be spiritual in this 3D plane means to insert and express our spirituality through the physical 3D form. And I would say that's probably one of the reasons we're all here.
Beautiful. And I love your body language. It's like giving me like surfing, mood, like waves and
Yeah.
fluidity. It's so beautiful.
Well, it's it's what it is, Lily. And can I share another story with you to really highlight this
Mhm.
beautiful awareness that I've come to? And this is like right now. This happened this week. So this is like right now in my journey that I'm sort of going deeper into this aspect. I'm really fascinated with how our emotions, our feelings, which I would say have a spiritual root. You talked about that a second ago. I'm really fascinated with how not just how our body keeps score of our emotional feeling past, right, in regards to our traumas and the things that we've experienced. It not only keeps score, but it desires through the physical body to complete that emotional healing experience. So I'll explain what I mean with an example that happened to me this week. I was speaking to someone I love very much, and during that conversation, I noticed feelings, emotions of jealousy coming up based off old wounds, old pains of abandonment and rejection. And I brought my awareness to it. I gave myself permission to feel the feelings. And what started happening was my body started to move. My body started to enact the experience of the emotions, of the feelings moving through me. So my heart, I felt my chest starting to close, like I started doing this. And for people listening, it's like an ink caving in. And then it started rotating to the left, away from the person that I was speaking to. And then I just brought awareness to it, and then it completed itself. So it shows, Lily, that this beautiful body that we're a part of is a pillar for all of our frequency and energy and spiritual connection to flow through, but we need to give it permission.
Beautiful. We we must have some very similar, probably astrological charts, because this week I had also a date with jealousy. So
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah, something
Date
is
with jealousy.
going on. Like
Yeah.
facing. I would like to ask you, as I ask everybody, what is your biggest takeaway from this conversation?
Mm. Other than how wonderful it is to be in your energy and your unique expression, Lily, other than that, I would say my biggest takeaway is a deeper level of self-acceptance for myself around where exactly I'm at in my journey right now. Like this beautiful topic today of authenticity, especially through a spiritual lens, has given me deeper sense of what it means to really accept myself fully, right? Accept myself fully in every way with where I'm at right now.
Bravo! Applause. Everybody, let's give applause to Harrison. And that's something that actually what many people reflect with who I had this kind of
Mm,
conversation, that they
mm,
become more aware about where they stand in terms of their personal journey towards authenticity and how
mm.
spirituality is or is not a part of it. So yeah, thank you for being here, and let's close it um with the last question. What would be your best advice to someone who would like to embark on a journey to discover their true authentic self?
Ooh, good question. So much advice, but the one that comes through in this moment to provide is one of my favorite Rumi quotes. And you've probably heard me share this, Lily, is the way appears once we start to walk it. And to me, what guidance that brings me in relation to your question is we only ever need to take the one step that is in front of us. We don't need to project our identity, our fears, our worries, our concerns on the third step, the fifth step, the 10th step. We just need to be present here now and take the one step that we can do, right? And that step might be for you closing your eyes and putting your hands on your heart. It might be taking a big deep breath in. It might be sending that message to that person that you know can support you. It might be getting outside and putting your feet on the earth and connecting to Mother Gaia. Whatever it is, the journey to that true authentic state takes one step at a time, and you only ever need to focus in on that one step.
Beautiful. So, with all of that said, I want to thank you, everybody who are listening, and I hope that you have also a very deep, special takeaway from our conversation. And I would love to hear from you as well. What left you the biggest impression? What what insights are you taking away? And also, Harrison, we are finishing at my time.
Two, 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 two.
How beautiful is that? Huh?
Mm, mm,
And this is the example, people. One of many examples what happens when we step more and more into our authenticity by embracing our spiritual
mm,
aspect of self is
mm, mm,
those magic synchronicities start happening, popping up, and our awareness becomes bigger and wider to witness
mm,
those
mm,
synchronicities. So literally our life becomes more full of magic that always has
mm,
been there,
mm,
but now we are able to witness that and to live it. So I really hope that it inspired this our conversation inspired you to step that step if you haven't yet, and if you need some loving support, uh, please find Harrison uh, with this name on all possible probably platforms, and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. Where else are you?
all the things. For people listening, it's at Harrison Ma spelled Meagher, and you can also find out more about what I'm doing in the world currently if you go to my website, same harrisonma.org.
Beautiful. And you know where to find me in case you also would like to have such kind of conversation or so. With all of that said, have a beautiful, wonderful day, Harrison. And it's time for me to go to sleep because the distance between Europe and Australia is pretty big.
Yes, bedtime. Thank you for having me, Lily. Sending love.